I don't have my microphone, so I'll just speak a little bit louder. Technology was technologying, and I realized I don't have the right cord to connect my fucking microphone to, so we're just gonna wing it, and we'll be fine, you know? Okay, so this conversation is about talking with the ancestors, basically things that have just come up that I noticed since talking to them, and yeah, like it just has been transformative. So to start, I wanted to just pull a deck from my Divine Nature Oracle, or did I say pull a deck? Pull a card from the deck, okay? And we're gonna see just like what ancestors, like kind of like, I guess what's like their overall message for those today. Ooh, drink deeply. All right, let's see what that means right quick. And then we'll get started. 29. When you drink from the cup of your own essence, everyone benefits. But when you try to quench the needs of others while your own cup runs dry, everyone pays a price. Now is the time to pull your energies back. Prioritize the sanctuary of time with yourself and honor the directives you hear from your soul. Name your bliss, align with it, and then chart a renewed course to follow it. The person you are becoming will always cost you comfort, relationships, security, places, and opportunities. Choose yourself over everything. I think that's very fitting for the combo today. So I'm going to grab my stuff because they want to smoke. I'm going to make a spliff real quick while we talking. So let me grab my material and then we'll get started on the conversation. Got my stuff. Gonna roll a little spliff for the ancestors while we talking. And just kind of go from there. So a little bit of the basis of this conversation. So like, why is this important? Why would I want to talk about the ancestors? Why is it important that you talk to your ancestors? Well, you're about to fucking find out. But I also just want to say, like, this is a true testimony to the work that I have done. Because if I wasn't truly doing what I say I'm doing, like shadow work, healing the grief, like really doing subconscious work, I would never have uncovered the information that I have uncovered. So let's like bring it back. Come the Super Bowl. So that was like February 8th or something. But just for context, Super Bowl, I had made a comment of like, the Super Bowl is in New Orleans? Like, oh yeah, that's like an insane amount of collective energy and magic in a portal that like, these people, if they're wishing anything, that motherfucker's like manifesting. Like, that is a huge amount of collective magic to be fucking with, you know what I'm saying? So like, I had made the comment, like, anybody who's at that game, they like, I hope they protected. And I didn't realize like I was basically having that same energy about to be coming towards me. So for context, I had a session before with a girl and we had, God dang it, I forgot my motherfucking tips. That's okay. I'm just gonna take the tip from the cigarette. But anyway, so I had a session and it was with this gal for the shop that I work out of, and she was like, yo, you should like really talk to your ancestors. Like, you know, we all have internal racism and all this shit, and like part of my session was coming up of like I was just feeling some type of way about like, you know, the Caucasians, or more so the American white women and men who are part of the healing community and just like what they're doing. And I was like, you know what, you're right. Let me talk to the ancestors, because at the end of the day, our ancestors are all of our ancestors. I'm an ancestor. You're an ancestor. Our ancestors are truly just different versions of ourselves. Like, when I say you are me and I am you, like, that's like the big picture is like, you know, human is personality. We have our name. We have our birthday and all that stuff. The soul doesn't give a fuck about any of that shit. Like, don't put labels on me. You know, the soul is so expansive. Like, it doesn't want a label. It can be labeled so many things, but you're not going to be able to fit in a category. So when I say like, yeah, ancestors, like ancestors are ancestors. Okay, so all the ancestors that we hate our ancestors. So I went and I sat with them, and I was like, you know what? In my practices before, I used to tell people, like, you got to be very specific on which ancestors you're calling on, because there are some ancestors who don't want the generation to do what it is that it's doing. Oops. My speaker's turned off. But boom, you know what I'm saying? There are ancestors who don't want the best for us. And so I used to tell, or I still tell people, like, hey, when you are starting to talk, like, just be specific. And that can just look simply like, you know, making sure that you're setting the tone of the meditation, so that way whatever information is coming to you is exactly what you need. You know, it's not going to be some energy that is not wanted. It is all the energy that you want and all the guidance that you want. So basically, I called on them, and I was just like, yo, like, ancestors, I'm feeling some type of way about some of the people I'm seeing in the community. And, you know, I, by product, started feeling like I needed to only offer services to the BIPOC community. And then I was like, well, why would I do that when I came in as a mixed person? So my part of the journey on that is being able to bridge the gap between the two, or the few races that I am, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, okay, like, I'm not here to limit myself. Like, if I was meant to do that, I would gatekeep, but I'm not a gatekeeper. And whoever comes to me, white or not, these people are deserving of the healing that I can provide, or the, you know, the vibration that I can provide. And it's not wrong for me to hold space for those people, or to let those people hold space for me. Obviously, that's where you have to use your discernment and make sure that, like, the person is meant to be in your auric field. Like, you're not just letting anybody in there. Like, you got to be very, very stingy with your energy when it comes to healing, and like who you got up in that circle and who in your zone. Because if they don't know what they're doing and then they start trying to do some work on you, it's just all bad. So I was just talking to the ancestors, and I was like, yo, like, the people who we consider bad are not bad because their experiences at the time that they lived would shape that perspective. Like, there are the ancestors who want vengeance, who want revenge. They want murder. They want the violence, because whatever they were going through, that was inflicted on them. So they, because of how they did that time period, that was the way. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that it's wrong. It's just that the way in which they want to go about it is a lot more like energy wasted than if we just were to remain in our peace. So, you know, so I was just telling them, I was like, look, you can hold your vengeance, you can hold that energy all you want. That's totally fine. But if, for me, I need your help in making sure that, like, I'm unlocking the parts of my DNA and my genealogy to truly benefit myself in this lifetime, to really eliminate things that can be eliminated that I am capable of eliminating during this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I can't break all of the curses, but I can get a good amount done. And even then, like, I don't, as much as people are like, you know, it's like naive to think that you can fix it all in one lifetime. Like, I don't think so. I think the amount of power that you can access within yourself can, like, really tap in to your godlike essence, like we're all trying to do. I think that it is very possible to get almost a lot of things done to where you don't gotta, I mean, look at Jesus. He came down, did what he did, and he became an ascended master immediately. Okay, so I'm just saying, like, I think it is possible. It's just a matter of what do you do and how are you moving. Like, yeah, like, what are you doing about it? It's like legacy shit. Like, it's not about what you leave behind. It's what people can take forward. You know, what can they do? Like, you showed people how to be kindness and how to be yourself. So now they can take that on and be role models for other people because you were a role model for them. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I'm going at. And so I was just talking to him. I was like, hey, like, I firmly believe that we are not meant to be in this cycle of, I wouldn't call it poverty, because no, I'm not. But, like, you know, just a cycle of struggle and survival and feeling like I have to have multiple jobs or all of this stuff. Like, I know that there is another way. And I just asked them, I was like, you know, help me tap into this, like, this stuff. Like, those of you who were good successful people, come through, show me how you were successful. If we have good sales negotiator, people who could catch an opportunity, I want to tap into that potential. You know, I want to tap into that energy that we can hold. Like people who were good with their finances in our lineage. Like I want that. I need that energy. You know, I need discipline when it comes to certain things. I am here to help and to bring and to continue to raise. And, you know, just like what are we waiting for type of vibes. And, you know, it wasn't, I mean, I guess it was kind of overnight. I mean, the amount of transformations that I have gone through since February is, like, intense. Like, that could possibly be in part because I do wear moldavite, and I've been wearing that shit for like 3-4 years, and like for real, transformation after transformation after transformation after transformation. But it's all within my realm. It's all things that I can handle and do. So, all right, guys, let's get this bread. Get that bread, the head, it and leave. Super Bowl comes. I get an email notification saying somebody reached out to you on Ancestry.com. I was like, oh, another one who thinks I'm their cousin. Let's go see if it's true. And I see this person, and she's like, hi, we matched on Family Tree, and I think you're my cousin. I just want to like confirm, yada yada yada. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't know who that person is. I'm sorry. Like, I'm looking at my family tree, and like, I'm like, I don't really understand how the fuck they like matched with me on there. I was like, how would you mean we matched DNA, but like, I don't see the DNA match on my shit. So I was like, okay. But I was like, no, I'm sorry, I don't recognize that person. And she came back and she was like, all right, you know, I'm sorry to do this, but like, you need to know the truth. Like, you are our family, yada yada yada. This is your dad. She sent me this obituary of this guy, and I'm over here like, what? Who the fuck? And then mind you, okay, so context. Growing up, there was points where like I would help clean my mom's room, because if you've been following me, you know that I haven't been talking to my mom I hadn't talked to my mom in over a year, because I cleaned her home because she was a hoarder, and then I think you can understand how that goes. So we weren't talking, and in the midst of all this stuff, like I had found the obituary, and I'd seen my picture in this obituary. So I was always like, what the fuck? And they're like, oh, he's just crazy. When he died, the family believed that you were his, and so they put you in the thing and all this stuff. And I'm like, my mom had somebody who's like that obsessed over her, that like these people claimed me to be their kid. And I'm like, that's insane. Like, dang. I'm over here like, I mean, people are crazy. We can't dismiss that. Like, people will go out of their way, and you know, like, if I'm not yours, nobody can have you type of vibe. And I was just like, all right, whatever. Like, again, I'm still believing that these motherfuckers are fucking crazy. So I'm just like, I don't know, that seems really sus. But like, I mean, if this is what they did, this is what they did. But also, mind you, again, like, as a kid, I'm not questioning it like I was questioning it now. Now that I'm an adult and I had a whole year of not talking to my family, I was questioning everything. Everything that I could question, I was fucking questioning. So I was like, what the fuck? So I see the obituary again, and I'm like, there's that motherfucking obituary. So I'm reading it, and in the obituary, there's a point, like, near my picture where it says, unbeknownst to her, Ransom Michael Sierra Garth, that's his last name, will always be daddy's little girl. And I'm like, unbeknownst to her, she will always be daddy's little girl. And I'm like, that's interesting. That's really interesting. When I was growing up and we lived in Park Hill, we moved into this house, and immediately after moving in, these people from across the street kept approaching me. And it was only like if I was alone, They would never do it if, like, I was outside with my brothers. Or sometimes, if they could, they would try to. But, like, for the most part, they would genuinely try to get me when I was alone. So, like, these people would come up and they're like, hey, Ransom, I'm your cousin. Blah, blah, blah. I'm over here like, absolutely the fuck not. Like, absolutely the fuck not. And I used to get scared, and I would tell my mom, like, hey, there's these people who are, like, coming up to me telling me that I'm their cousin, and I don't know what to do, and everybody would just be like, oh, don't worry about them, they're just crazy, just ignore them, tell them that you have a different name. Okay, there's so much involved in this shit. So I was like, oh, okay. So as a loyal kid that I am, I'm over here like, oh, hell no, these motherfuckers are crazy. As a child, I was very, I wouldn't say I was scared, but I definitely was, like, closeted enough where I was like, outside world was, like, sketchy. But then also because I was so inside, like, my reality of what outside world was, like, not there, but whatever. So I was just like, okay, they're crazy. And then as I got older, they kept approaching me, and I'm over here like, yo, this shit is, like, mad insane. Like, who are these people? Why do they keep coming up? At this point, I'm over here like, why is another family claiming me? But mind you, all these people are not telling me anything. Like, and all these people is what I'm talking about is, like, family, like mom, nana, brothers, sisters, all this stuff. And I don't have, like, a biological sister. She's my cousin, but, you know, sister. So I was like, something is weird, and I would just bypass it, whatever. So coming back to the message on Ancestry, you might remember us because when you were getting married, my grandma came out of the house and approached you and, like, told you congratulations. So, like, that shit right there, like, immediately got me, because I was like, yo, I remember when I got married, and I walked outside to get in my car because I got ready at home, and they came, like, the whole house just, like, fucking swarms me. And they're like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Congratulations. I hope you have, like, a great marriage and all this stuff. And I'm over here like, thank you. Like, this is probably the closest these people have ever gotten to me at this point. And I'm just like, and, like, the grandma's crying and shit, and I'm just like, I don't know, like, that's just a little weird. Like, I feel like unless you're family, like, and then I'm thinking, like, empath shit, like, you know, you see a bride, it's a beautiful day, you're probably reminiscing about your day and shit, so I'm like, oh, okay, like, you know, no. So me and this girl exchange information at this point, because she's giving me enough to where I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and, like, now that I'm out the house and now that I'm an adult, and I had said this, like, years prior, where when I had first moved out the house, that I was like, if these people ever approach me again, I'm just gonna ask them, because, like, you've been coming up, like, I mean, these people were dedicated, and I don't blame them, but these motherfuckers were approaching me all the time. So I was like, I'm not gonna ignore them anymore. I'm not a child anymore. So, like, what do these people have? Like, what can they tell me? Maybe I can right the wrong and tell them, like, hey, that man was crazy, you know? So we exchange numbers and we start texting, and she starts telling me a lot more, and they're sending me a lot more pictures of me and this man, and I'm like a baby. And so here's the thing, is I'm over here like, okay, when I tell you, okay, with intuition, things simultaneously happen, right? Like, when you have all your clairs working together, and it's so insane, like, oh my God, my whole body is like, whew. So, like, I was having revelation after revelation after revelation in a span of, like, 2 minutes. Okay, so, like, that's how intense this shit was, is in a span of, like, 2 minutes. I'm over here like, what the fuck? So I actually don't have any pictures from, like, a period of time. And I'm like, where are these? Like, why don't I have pictures from, like, a certain age? And then all of a sudden I get pictures and they start, like, on a different age. And I'm like, something's off. Like, what the fuck? So they're, like, sending me all these pictures. So at this point, I'm like, these people might be onto something. I get connected to this guy that they say is, like, my older brother and all this stuff. So they're like, he could tell you more. And I'm like, okay. And then I start talking to this guy, and he's telling me, like, oh yeah, like, we lived together at one point, and, like, you know, like, yada yada, all this shit. And I'm like, how are we living together, bro? If my mom, or like, you know, everybody telling me that y'all motherfuckers has been crazy this whole time, like, there is no connection here, and you're gonna sit here and tell me, like, nah, we live together and everything, like, your mom, my dad, our dad, you know, and I'm like, and they're like, look, we are totally okay doing a DNA test if you're down to do a DNA test. And I was like, hey, like, look, if they ain't got nothing, I mean, if they're willing to do the test, I'm willing to do the test. Although I ain't gonna lie, at first it was a little sus because we started talking about the test, and then there was like all these excuses as to why we couldn't do the test, and then that's when they got me in contact with my brother, kind of fast forward there, and they were like, well, he could do the test, it's way cheaper if you do a sibling test than if you do like a grandma, like a grandparent test. And I was like, oh yeah, that's dope, let's just like fucking, let's do that shit, right? So in the span, okay, so mind you, this was Super Bowl, and then like this all happened that week. Like I'm getting all this information within that same week of the Super Bowl. Then within that week, or even prior to that week, actually the week before that week had even started, I had talked to my grandma, and she had said, hey, everybody's ready to talk. And I was like, oh, yay, everybody's ready to talk. Let's plan for the end of the month. So this shit was already planned. Like, we were finally starting to, like, bridge that gap of not speaking for a whole year, you know, letting the bad blood go, just getting clarity, righting the wrongs, and getting justice where we felt we needed to get justice. So I was like, okay, perfect. And then that next week, I get all this information. So now I have, like, 3 weeks of sitting on this information, and I'm like, oh, my God, I want to like say something so bad, but I'm like, no, I'm just going to wait until our meeting, because at this meeting, I made sure everybody was there. So mom, dad, grandma, sister, brother. Okay. So I was like, okay, we're going to be fine. I'm going to just be patient. I'm not going to, I don't need to say anything. Like, it's all good. And hold on. I got to get my lighter. So I'm getting all this intel, and I'm over here like, yo, if this man is my father, and like all the things that I ever picked up when I was younger, I'm now starting to like put together all these things where like I didn't have connections to before. I'm like, oh, well, that's why that, and then this is why I saw this, and then this is why, and I'm like, oh my God, this shit is insane. Fucking sane. And so I'm just like, okay. I'm like, all right. And I'm just like, why haven't they told me anything? Mind you, I'm almost hitting 30. I think I should know before then if like I am not biologically related to somebody, or if I am, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe I'm assuming that my mom did this because she needed to be like, she needed to protect me or something. Like that's where I'm at with this, is like the only thing I can think of is why everything about this whole person and this lifestyle and all this stuff has been on the hush is most likely because it probably wasn't good. And then I remembered, so again, as all these things are coming, I remember these pictures I had seen, and these pictures were of my mom, and like she was all like beat up and shit, and I was like, what the fuck? And my grandma at the time was like, oh, it's because, you know, that crazy ex-boyfriend, like they had some DV and whatever. And I was like, okay. And then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, so then when was this DV? Like, let me look it up, because whether you're alive or dead, your record still remains available. So I went and looked this person up, and I was like, well, when did he get arrested for beating my mom's ass? Because that'll tell me more about, like, time frame. Like, when did me and this person, like, stop having a relationship or something? And I'm like, So I look up his record, and I see that he got, like, arrested in, like, December of 98. And I'm like, December of 98? I'm born 97. So I'm like, December of 98. Okay, so I was like 2. I was just turned 1. And then I looked at an ancestry. It pulled up my mom and dad's like marriage certificate. And I looked that up, and it said they had gotten married September of 98. So I'm like, if my mom is already married in September, how is it that this domestic violence isn't until December. Weird. So I was like, okay, let me remember that. And then, again, because I don't have all the story, I'm still just trying to figure it out. Like, okay, domestic violence happened in December, but my mom was married in 98. So, like, how and why would he still be, like, how would he have gotten a chance to put his hands on her if she's already married to who I assume is my dad? And then fucking, I'm like, I don't know. So there's just like all these things are coming up, right? So much. Pictures, all of it. And like, all these people were talking about, oh yeah, I knew you. I remember you. You look like this. You look like our family. They're sending me pictures of the family. And I'm over here like, oh my God, I could kind of see the resemblance there. Like, what the fuck? All of this shit, right? So I'm just like, yo, this is weird. I'm talking to this guy who, like I said, who they say is my brother, and he is telling me like, oh, I'm born in October too, like all this shit, and I'm like, what the fuck? He's talking about like, oh, he's into the healing world, like, and that's what got me, is like, nobody really around me is into this realm like I am. Like, I'm very much aware of the energetics and all that stuff, right? But my family could care less about that. Like, they have come to my events and they have like participated, but like, it's not something that they're like, yay, let's learn more. You know, that's just kind of how it goes usually, is there's one, and then it's the latter who pick up, but the current ones usually don't come into that. So I was like, all right, that's fine. But I was like, what? You're into this healing world too? And he was like talking about Shiva and all this stuff. He's like, I got Shiva tattooed, and I'm over here like, because if y'all know, I got Kali tattooed, and I'm like, Kali, Shiva, oh hell nah. This is way too what an average person would say is coincidence. Obviously not. This is very serendipitous. This is very like synchronistic. It was insane. So I was like, what? This is crazy. Like, you're into crystals, I'm into crystals. Like, okay, your birthday is 2 days before mine. Like, I'm like, what is up with that? And it just, so fast forward, I finally have the family meeting, right? So I'm like, we gonna out these motherfuckers. Like, you're gonna tell me the motherfucking truth. I started off, because again, they don't know that I know about this stuff. They have no idea that I'm even talking to this family, okay? Because they have for so long prevented me from being able to, right? So I'm like, whew, mind you, bro, like, okay, as much as I have been doing this healing work, public speaking or public confrontation is not my forte, okay? But like, after this, oh, let's fucking go. Throat chakra on 10. Everybody arrives on time. That's a first. Everybody arrived on time. And they're all sitting there. You know, thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm glad that we have finally been able to come and have this conversation. Just to start, like, we're all going to get justice where we feel we need to get justice. We're going to apologize and take accountability where we need to take accountability. And we're just going to get it all out here in the table. We haven't spoken in a year. There's a lot that hasn't been said. There's a lot that has been said. So let's just get it all out now. And so then I start by just saying, like, where I take accountability, where I should have given more of an opportunity, where I might have crossed the boundary, or well, not that I might have, I did, where I crossed the boundary, and just like that whole thing, right? But then, before I even get too deep into that, I stop and I said, before we get anywhere, I just need to really get this out on the table. I said, from our time being apart, I've had some revelations, you know, and mind you, like, if only y'all could have heard me. And I'm over here like, I've had some revelations. And I said, so before we even finish this conversation about the house, I need to clarify who my real dad is. Oh my God. Mic dropped. They were shook. Everybody paused. I said, because it is clear, and I point to who I thought is my dad. I was like, because it is clear that this guy is not my dad, so I need the truth. So everybody's stunned. Takes a minute. And then all of a sudden they're like, my dad is like, Ransom, I am your dad. I said, I'm sorry. I can't really just take that, because every time I've ever asked about these people in this family, you guys have always dismissed me. You've told me they are crazy. So the only person who can actually tell me who is my dad is going to be my mom. And then before I like let her have a chance to talk, I start talking about all this shit that I have. So there is no room to fucking lie to me. There's no room to play games in my motherfucking face. Okay. So I'm over here like, you know, this is what I have, and then I lied. I ain't gonna lie, I lied. And I said that I had a DNA test scheduled that week. I didn't have it scheduled, but the DNA test would have happened if I didn't get the truth anyway. But I was just like, I have this DNA test scheduled. So to save us some money, let's go ahead and just get this truth out now. My mom finally answers, and she was like, okay, you wanna know what happened? Yeah, he ain't your dad, but he raised you. He ain't your biological dad, no, but he raised you. And I was like, I thank you for that. Can you, like, let your pride down a little bit? Like, we don't need to do all that. Like, I'm here for answers and questions. She was like, is it your pride? I was like, oh, okay, look at you. You clearly didn't want to be here anyway, and now you over here getting irate. Like, bruh. So then it comes out, Ransom, I adopted you. My dad. Again, my mom, she's sitting there looking like the fox me. Dissociated, clearly didn't want to be there. I mean, her body language was already telling me a lot. Like, homegirl barely looked in my direction. She looked down the entire time, and she had her body so, like, and I was like, you adopted me? And he was like, yes, I adopted you. And so I'm like, and that just threw me off, okay, because why am I adopted? Why can't you just be a stepdad and call it what it is? Y'all could have changed my name and everything. You could change names easy as fuck. So, like, why didn't you guys just do that? She's like, you want to know what? And they were like, something. And I was like, well, what happened? Like, please explain to me. Like, were you guys ever going to tell me? Like, what the fuck is this? And they were like, yeah, I was going to tell you soon. And I was like, when is soon? Like, you know, like, you both got cancer, you both could have fucking died, y'all would have died on your deathbeds, and I would have never found any of this shit out. So please explain to me when the fuck y'all were gonna tell me. And two, like, I'm literally almost 30. I think I should know by then, or like when I was getting married and I was making big adult decisions and shit, is when you guys should have came and told me what was going on. Because nothing would have been worse than, let's say I married a guy and then come to find out we're like trying to have kids, which, you know, I'm not trying to. But like, let's say I wanted to have kids and I wanted to, and then come to find out this kid coming out with like all fucking deformities and shit because we're first cousins. Absolutely the fuck not. That is not the way you want to find out any of this. And I said, and if I would have found out when I was 50, that shit would have been even worse. So that's just where I say, like, a true testimony to my connection with Source is that through doing my work and like taking that year to not speak to my family had uncovered truths that I would have never uncovered if I would have just kept trying to talk to them in their toxic ass environment. But it gets deeper. It gets way deeper. So she's like, so I'm like, yeah, well, like, what happened? So she's like, well, that motherfucker was so obsessed and he couldn't fathom that I would have been with somebody else. And he tried to, or he kidnapped me and your mom, or kidnapped me and you, and he tried to kill us. And I was like, okay. And he was like, and he tried to kill you first. Now, okay, look, given who my mom is, I'm not saying that I wasn't part of the attempted murder, but I don't know if I was the first one, is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that was a little bit of like a trying to like still put herself up, because to acknowledge the trauma of like, I was first. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, when it comes to energy work and emotional regulation and shit, I understand all this. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. You'll understand too why I'm a bit, I wouldn't say critical, but I definitely will question more of what she says, because obviously I haven't gotten the truth this whole time. I'm like, that shit's crazy. So like, there's like a whole blowout, and they're like over here trying to be like, even though you feel like people betrayed you, they like, nobody betrayed you because I told everybody not to tell you, and yada yada yada. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like, one, you're not gonna dismiss my feelings. Like, if I feel betrayed, I feel betrayed. Yes, maybe that wasn't your intention, but that's how it came off, and that's how it feels. Because again, I'm almost 30, and yet nobody wanted to tell me anything. And the fact that I have asked repeatedly at different times in my childhood about these motherfuckers, and nobody told me the fucking truth, and I still had to come, and I'm the one who came to you to ask you about it. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that shit is crazy. And then it brought up my name, right? Because it's like, y'all named me Ransom, but then you held half of my identity ransom. Like, what the fuck was that about? Like, you know, and like my mom went from being like, I was gonna tell you soon, to like, if it were up to me, I would have died never telling you. And it's like, which one was it? Which one was it? Okay? Like, because I understand now, like, there was an attempted murder, I understand why she moved the way she did. Obviously, if somebody was going to try to kill you and your kid, you're never going to want to be with that person again. You don't even want to think about them and all this stuff, whatever. Now, I'm sure it's hard to look at me, your offspring, and have the remembrance of this person, because obviously I'm half of his DNA, but like, you know, and because of that stuff, I had been growing up, like I told him, I was like, nobody considered me. And they're like, I did consider you. And I said, look, yes, you considered me. But I don't think you guys in depth considered the ramifications of what this would have done, especially to a child so young. I said, because I was telling you guys that they were approaching me multiple times, and you guys never went and did anything. It made me feel like you guys didn't take me seriously, because I never felt that mama bear or papa bear energy where it was like, get the fuck away, you know, get off my lawn type of energy. But he considered that I would have like a mini identity crisis. Like when I was young, and because they had approached me so young, I had already come to the conclusion, like, if anything were to come out that I was not related, then that's okay. Like, obviously I chose this family, and I'm very content with this family, despite the fuckery, but like, this makes sense. I'm okay with that. And I was like, okay. So I already had that, but like, it doesn't say that I didn't have a mini identity crisis, because I did go, before I got to that conclusion, I really had to figure out like, who am I? Why do I look, like, do I look different than my brothers? Yes and no. My mom did a good job of finding a guy who would have kids that look just about the same. I'll tell you that much. We are all related for sure, but I think now that I'm getting older, more of my features from that side are starting to come through, and that's probably like really crazy. So I was like, you guys didn't think about that. I was like, I have gaps in my memory that I felt like I couldn't understand, but I couldn't ask you guys because you guys wouldn't tell me. I was like, but I feel like I have gaps. I was like, and this shit just ain't right. Like, you guys, like, I said, fuck anything else, just for a health, like on a health level, on incest, you know, like, that is very important information to know, because you guys are telling me that this man who I thought is my dad, who has all of these things going on with him, I'm thinking I'm like subjected to that same stuff, and actually no, I'm not subjected to any of that. I have to be worried about whatever is going on with this family, who I have no idea of their history. I don't know what the fuck they got going on. And, you know, so it's like, if something were to happen to me, and we're like, well, that's not in the family, and I'm thinking I'm the first, but come to find out, it's just really because I'm adopted. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, bruh. And so because of that, I was like, I knew something was off, because when I used to go to the doctor when I was growing up, they used to have my name as Ransom Michael Sierra. And I was always like, why do they have that? Why is it always Michael? Like, where's this Michael from? And every time I'd ask, they'd be like, oh, it's because you're baptized under Archangel Michael, and the hospitals used to have access to the baptismal certificates. And I was like, right. Mind you, at the time, I didn't question that. I question that now, because what kind of HIPAA violation is that? And two, I'm pretty sure that the hospitals stopped taking those after. Like, I don't feel like, and I didn't research that, but I'm pretty sure like that stopped after like once in 96. I'm pretty sure they weren't doing that anymore, or like I was like on the verge of stopping. But even so, I was like, that shit's fucking weird. And then one day, it just stopped appearing on my wish. Like, you know, you give me the wristband. It just stopped appearing. It just said Sierra, and I was like, So when I cleaned my mom's house this most recent time, which started our separation, I had found this man's death certificate. And I was like, why would you need that? The only reason I could think you need a death certificate is if there was life insurance or like to change name. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where I was like, why does she have that? Why is that important? So that's where I was like, maybe that's why she was pissed off that I cleaned her room, because I was about to uncover some shit that I probably wasn't supposed to. Not to her timing, of course, but I was like, that shit's insane. So I'm just like, what the fuck? And they were like, well, we never changed your birth certificate. And actually, I talked to my friend who is adopted, and she's like, bitch, I got like 3 birth certificates. Mind you, her story's a little bit different, but she got 3. So that means I have 2. The one that I've been seeing is not actually right. And then why this becomes very important is because when we talk about Akashic records and entering the Akashic records, you have to give them the name that you are. Okay, so the name that you're under, because every name vibrates a different reality, basically. So, you know, when we talk about dimensions and shit, so like when I was married and I wanted to go into the Akashic records, I would need to use my entire married name, because that version of me has a very specific book. And then there's the book that I access now, which is under my name now, Ransom Sierra Roberts. And it's like, oh, so was my middle name Michael or not? Because on all the pictures that these people ever sent me, and they would turn the picture around, it would say Ransom Michael Sierra. What is my name? Like the last, like for real. What the fuck is my name? Like, yes, Ransom has always remained, but is it Michael Sierra Garth? Or is it Michael Sierra Roberts? Obviously, it's Roberts now, but when I grew up, did I ever have that man's last name? Because, if I can confirm that I've had that, because I gotta find my birth certificate. And mind you, I don't really want to have to spend money to do all this, but I do also not want to open the door again to my mother to ask any questions. But if anybody's gonna answer these questions, it's gonna be her. But, like, nobody reached out after that meeting. I don't know if they're embarrassed or something, but like, it's already April and I haven't heard from anybody aside from my grandma. I don't know. That speaks measures to me if you ask, but I had done a session. And because of that, I had said, because once I mentioned, I feel like I have gaps in my memory, and then I found all that stuff out. And just like the way my mom was reacting and stuff, I was like, I think my mom put a shield on me. Because that's something she would do, right? And I know that. Like, that's her downfall. If she didn't want me to find any of this information out, she should have never talked about intuition like she did. She should have never talked about karma the way she did. She should never open that door, because I probably would have taken a lot longer to get there. But since she wanted to talk about her intuition and all these things, I grew up very upset, because I was like, where are my intuitive abilities? Why am I not tapping into my abilities? Because I couldn't. My abilities didn't kick off until I moved out of that motherfucking house. Once I moved out that house, everything changed, and it was pretty much like the reign of control was lost, because I wasn't in the house to be under the fucking shield anymore. The further and further I got, the more and more I started to seek. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was insane. And I go into the session, same girl who was like, you need to do that, talking to the ancestors. I was like, well, shit, talking about them. I started having like a period of detachment where it was like recognizing like I am a soul, like I am part of this big creation. And like when I would look at myself in the mirror, I would be like, I know her, but like I can't connect to her. Like, I don't, like, this is my body, but like that's not me, is the best way I can explain that. And it was because, like, again, there was so much happening. So we get into the session and we find out, like, yes, my mom indeed put a shield on me. And I was like, I fucking knew it. But part of the shield is it created an illusion of fear. So she put the fear in me that wasn't mine to fear these people, which I had mentioned. I was like, you know, when these people came up, like, I felt the immediate wave of fear come over me where I was like, yo, I can't talk to these people because I'm thinking about my mom. But if you were to ask me genuinely how I felt during that time, like, I can sit here and tell you that I was always curious. Like, I was never afraid. But once I would feel that, like, oh, my mom wouldn't like this, I would just go with that energy. I wouldn't trust my gut and be like, I should question these people. I should like open that door. Very loyal, but I was like, So basically when she went in to go to do the shield, she basically wanted to erase it. Like she didn't think about it smart. And this is where free will imposed on another person's free will becomes very ethical and morally wrong, because it's like, I was a child, and yes, out of protection, of course you're going to want to put a shield over your baby, but there's a way to do that to where this baby is still able to live her life and do whatever the fuck she wants and see and have a connection to her abilities and all this stuff. And there's another thing to put a shield to where it actually prevents all of that shit from ever coming out. Okay, and that's what basically was happening, is that through fear, my mother put a shield over me, which in actuality was to erase what had happened. And because of that, it created a timeline split where one part of me was like, this shit ain't right. It was always the part of me that was like, yo, this shit's weird. And that also created more of a disconnection from myself of like, I don't recognize her. I know I was in her body and I know I lived that story, but like, I don't know her like I know her, like me. You know what I'm saying? And so basically, yeah, she tried to go in and erase all of these memories, all of these times, like erase the person from me. And because of that, it created gaps. And then that timeline split where, like I said, one person is going one way, like I'm here in this reality, and then there's the version of me who's living the real truth and is like, this shit ain't right, girl. Your reality is a fucking lie. And we had to go through and fix that. So basically it was a mini soul retrieval where I had to pull back these parts of me, because obviously if you're telling me I was the one who's almost murdered, like I need to go and like see, I need to go into that memory and see like what's going on. And I mean, I can tell you it makes sense why I'm clairaudient, why that was the goal. That was what came first, because my eyes didn't want to see what was happening. And you know what? And like, again, oh God, guys, I could talk forever about this shit. Forever. But if you're wearing glasses, it's because you failed to see the truth in the other reality. So now you came in impaired. So you need extra set to help you see, because it's like you're forcing to see. That's why when people are like, oh, I can't wait to take off my glasses because then they don't have to see things like they are, their eyes can relax. It's usually saying something about you internally too, of like you're not willing to see these aspects of you, these parts of you that are not the best. And so because of that, now we need extra help. So I actually had glasses growing up until there was a point where I didn't need them anymore, and I haven't had them since. But yeah, it's true. So I didn't see, I saw enough, but it was very much in and out. So it was like basically that time of which all this shit happened. I could only hear it. I would hear the screaming and all the stuff falling around, and just like the commotion of everything, all the chaos. And then my eyes would open and I'd see a little bit, and then my eyes would close and I'd hear it again. So when my intuitive abilities came, they came in just like that. They were like, you can hear because you don't want to see yet. And then once I was comfortable, I was like, yo, open my eyes. Like, let's really fucking see. And now here we are. But it definitely it required steps to get there. Absolutely. And it just, the more I sit with it and think about things that had came up back then that are showing up now, it's like, oh my God, I'm thinking I'm working through this because of this, but it's really because of this. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we mean about layers. There's so many layers about some things. Like, until you get to the root cause, you won't know, you don't understand it all. Okay, you just know that these are all ramifications of the root cause, but like you got to figure out what the root cause was. And well, now I see my root cause of like, well, of course I'm all cool with death and all this stuff because I literally was faced with it. Literally faced with it. Like, before I even had a chance to be conscious like this and to live a life and shit, it was already trying to get taken away from me here. And what is even more serendipitous about this is that 2 years ago I had a past life reading, an Akashic Records reading, and I had asked about my father's side, not the father that I know is to be my father now, but like the one that I thought was. And they brought up this fragmentation that we have where like there's like this fragmentation, and I was like, oh well, yeah, that makes sense, like homeboy's bipolar. And even then, within the whole context, like, I'm just like, I don't know, that maybe they're not talking about him. But again, I'm just like, whatever, I don't ask about my father like that anyway, but let's open the door. And then they go into our past life of me and my father being together, and they show like two. So there's a past life I already knew about that I had murked myself in, and that was byproduct because of him in a past life that had killed. So one past life, motherfucker murdered me because it was a murder-suicide. My mom had died at birth. He resented me and was like abusing me in all the ways that you could think of. And then there was just that one good blunt force trauma. I was gone, and then because he didn't want responsibility, he took himself out. So when that happens, because obviously I was a child in that lifetime, I don't have to go to limbo because it wasn't my fault. There was nothing for me to reflect on. There was nothing, I couldn't prevent any of that. I was a child. So in order for him to understand his karma, we had to reincarnate right away. So the next reincarnation is the one where, again, my mother died. It was from an illness. It wasn't from childbirth. I was 18, working in an asylum, was being a nurse, thought I could save the world, and was extremely naive, and my throat chakra was so blocked because I was being abused at home. I couldn't speak up at work, and so I took my life in one of the halls in the asylum. And part of that reasoning was just because I felt that energy of he's about to kill me. So for like karmic justice, I killed myself first so he couldn't kill me. So that kind of broke part of the chain, but not all of it, because again, where's my mother? And then that again come into this lifetime, I am with the same motherfucker who tried to kill me before I could even speak, you know? But the difference about this is that this reality, me and my mom survived, and he died. He died in 2003. So like, yeah, I was like 4 or 5 at that point. So karmic, like, cycle has been broken, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like so many things from the past are now making sense now. And that's when you just have to sit here and be like, yeah, until you know everything, it doesn't make sense. You can only piece parts of it and get yourself to an understanding where it feels comfortable. But until like you go through certain things and have things uncovered, like it really doesn't make sense like it makes sense now, you know? And so it was just so amazing. And I mean, a lot of people were like, I don't know if you're just going fucking crazy right now or if you're just handling this really well. And I was like, it's kind of both, because the work that I do has prepared me to do this stuff. Like, if I wasn't emotionally regulated like I am now, most likely all of these things that came up about my dad not being my dad and being adopted and all this stuff, I would have never found out. I would not have found out this quickly. And this is going, and like I said, mind you, these people did not want me to know. Nobody was going to tell me, because out of respect for my mom, she didn't want me to know. So nobody was going to take the initiative to be like, hey, Ransom, by the way, that's not your dad. No, nobody took that initiative, you know? So I, being the person that I am, doing the work that I do, said, well, let's go into this. Like, what's my mother wound? What's this father wound shit that I have going on? Talk to the ancestors, said, hey, let's get this bread. And the ancestors said, you want this bread? Well, we got to right or wrong. You're living a fucking lie. And then next thing you know, Ancestry DNA messages me on Gmail talking about, hey, you've matched with somebody. And then this person was over here talking about, hey, I'm your cousin, yada, yada, yada. The fact that it came through Ancestry is even funnier, because guys, really, like, thanks Ancestors, y'all came through on that one. They said, here, actually, let's let her know that it came from us. We're gonna just do it through Ancestry.com. And even what's crazier about that is I've been on Ancestry.com for like 10 plus years now, and they barely just got on and figured this shit out. They could have been found me years ago. Maybe they did. I don't know. But like, she's like my cousin, who is also in this realm. She when we talked, she was like, you know, some of the family members chose the unhealed way, and then there's people like us who chose the healed way. Like, she does reflexology, and I could be, I don't think it's EMDR. She does something, but like, it's in this realm, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy, crazy cool, but it is insane. It is insane. So yeah, I thought they was just gonna help me get more bread. They said, in order to get this bread, you need to know who you are, like your actual truth. And that is so important going forward for anybody. Like, you have to know who you fucking are. Who you are. In order to do what the fuck you need to do. I, for the most part, knew who I was, but I had these gaps. Like I said, we needed to fill in the blanks. And then by working with Source, doing what I'm supposed to do, emotionally regulating, getting movement into the body, reading, educating myself, like doing everything that I'm supposed to do. Boom. I didn't even, like, again, these people came to me. I didn't have to go to them. They came to me and said, hey, we're your people. And I was like, yo, this shit's crazy. Fucking crazy. And so it is so insane to me to know that I have an older brother, and then I have 2 younger brothers. I mean, and the fact that me and my older brother lived together and everything, we did have a relationship until we didn't have a relationship. And then, I'm not going to out his business, but homeboy told me he was kidnapped too by our dad. So, like, I don't know. Again, I know people, we signed the contract of what part we're supposed to play. And clearly, my father needed to go through the process of being in that energy of, like, not love to finish his contract out or whatever, but like, insane. So like, yes, I get when people are like, why would I choose these parents? Oh, we chose these parents. Now, the question that I have for myself is, why would I choose now to find all of this thing out? Like, why would I choose this time, this year, to now find out all this information? That's where I'd be asking my higher self, like, why would I choose now? Like, what? Like, is my life really about to take off? Because I'm here for it. Like, this feels like the last, like, the missing link. They were like, bitch, you want to do all this stuff in the world, but you need foundation. Literal root chakra foundation. And then now, because I understand biological foundation, everything seems to be like, hello, duh? I don't know how to explain it, bruh. But for real. Yeah. That's wild. Yeah, it's fucking wild, bruh. To just know that this family who's been approaching me that I've been thinking is crazy this whole time has actually been on it. They have been telling me the truth, but everybody who I was loyal to was out here being loyal to my mom, which byproduct was lying to me. So, and like I said, I 1,000% understand why everybody moved the way they do. If I was in her position and I wasn't like how I am, and something very traumatic happened to me, and I said, don't you fucking whisper a word to my child about this person or this life or anything, and they said, bet. Like, yeah, I get that. I 100% get that. But again, this is where when we say you shouldn't make choices out of emotional, like heightened emotional, like times, volatile times. Yeah. Now, where this shit connects even further is so Mars went retrograde in Cancer. Okay, so let me break down the astrology real quick. Why this is important. Because this also shows you how interconnected everything is, because astrology was astrologing. So Mars went retrograde and it was in Cancer. So what that means is that when a planet goes retrograde, you look at what sign the planet is going retrograde in. You find where that sign is in your house. And then you also look at where that planet is in your home. So basically, Mars went retrograde in Cancer. Cancer is the mother. My Mars was in my 4th house in Aries. Mars is ruled by Aries. So that's why it's in the 4th house for me. Okay, see what I'm saying? Okay. So Mars is stationed retrograde in Cancer. My Mars, who rules Mars, is my 4th house, Aries. The 4th house is all about home and family. The fact that Mars was in Cancer meant that family in my 4th house was all of my mother's secrets were coming undone. The day we had our meeting is the day Mars went direct. You know what I'm saying, guys? Like, the moment that shit went retrograde, all of my mom's dirt came up, and then the day it's stationed is the day I found out the truth about everything. So that is exactly why astrology fucking matters. Because, again, I don't have to know that, but the fact that I do know that just shows you, like, it was gonna come up anyway. Truthfully, this shit would have came up ready, whether I was ready or not. It was bound to happen, but the fact that the planets had aligned in such a way, and I was already prepared, portal opened, and they said, here you go, here's all the information that you need. Your daddy ain't your daddy. You do have an older brother, and this family who's been approaching you actually has been your family the whole time. That is what I've been doing. So in the span of, so it's April now, and I feel like I've died and rebirthed at least 30 times in that span of a time. Like, I have aged and reversed aged all at the same fucking time. Like, if y'all ever doubted me, and when I say, like, oh, this is what it is, nah, like, I'm for real about my shit and my connection, and when I'm channeling and when I'm doing my work. Like, I am a true fucking, this right here was a true testimony of my fucking work, because what else is it? The fact that these people knew my name always bothered me, because I don't have a normal name. Nobody just knows a bunch of Ransoms, you know what I'm saying? And most of the time they're guys, or it's a last name. But like, my name is very unique. So if somebody can come up here and tell me, like, hey, I know you, how the fuck do you know me? Okay, like, that's my thing. And so it's like, I'm over here trying to be like, no, I'm Claire, my name's Amy, leave me alone. It's like, nah, bitch, talk about this shit all day, and just how this continues to just connect energetically and just in general. But yeah, so I'm totally excited now to see how they continue to show up, because I don't know what more I would need to find out. But again, that's not in my hands. Like, I just tell them, hey, I'm open. Show me what I'm not seeing and tell me my truth. So yeah, so the next goal here is to find my original birth certificate, because obviously I'll have 2 now, and I'm going to look at what name was put on that birth certificate, because once I know that name, I can access the Akashic records for it, and I can learn so much about that version of myself, because again, I didn't have access to it until now. So it's like, let me get access. Plan to bring this out with more conversations with people. Like, I want to sit down with people and like have these conversations. Like, it's great talking by myself, but I want to have conversation with people and about real stuff. You don't even got to be spiritual. I just want to be able to have a conversation and just get your point of view. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's like expand with Ransom. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for the engagement. I appreciate you. All right, y'all. I am peacing out. Smoke up, eat good food, and have a beautiful motherfucking day and night. Your girl is out.